Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Directions Mag Geospatial webinar today, sponsored by our friends at Hexagon. I'm Barbary Duke, Managing Editor here, joined by our webinar producer, Lynette Qualia. We appreciate you stopping by directionsmag.com to read more articles, webinars, and podcasts. Today, we are excited to have Katie Fitzsimmons from Hexagon with us. We are looking forward to learning more about aerial innovations and the cool things they have going on over there. Welcome, Katie. We're glad to have you with us today.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here as well. Well, I guess everybody, we can go ahead and jump in. My name is Katie Fitzsimmons. I'm with the Hexagon Content Program. And today I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more about some of the new technology that our team here at Hexagon is bringing forward and how that impacts some of the new cool stuff that's going on inside of the Hexagon Content Program. So maybe to get started, just a quick overview of who Hexagon as an organization is. So Hexagon as an organization is a worldwide company, and sometimes I think Hexagon is better known for all of the many companies it's acquired through the past several years rather than the parent company. But there's been quite a large shift in that, and the theme that brings us all together is really that of sensors, software, and then all of that data that's collected to empower customers to bring together autonomous solutions. And that can mean data, that can mean connectivity, all sorts of applications there. If we look at it maybe in a little bit more practical standpoint, we're looking at kind of the sensor suite. So for those of you who are familiar with Leica Geosystems, you likely know that they've been flying airborne imagery and LiDAR sensors for now a century, that we've got handheld devices that take measurement, that we've got theodolites in the survey industry. But that's not all. Our company collects measurement in the building information and management industry, in fine precision industry measurement. So there's all sorts of sensors collecting data out there. And then on the other side of it is, what do we do with all of that data? We need the software solutions to be able to take those raw bits and bytes of data and start to put it into something that's actually useful. And that's where the software tools come in play, where we can take all of that data and create actionable information. And really, when we bring all of this together, this is what Hexagon considers our smart digital reality. And that means that you have actionable data that's digitally accessible, infinitely connected throughout the organization, and likely, and most importantly, that it's got some intelligence behind it, that you're able to use that data to help you solve the complex problems and solutions that you're facing inside your organizations today. So that's Hexagon on a big level. And if we take a little deeper dive down into what specifically we're talking about today, which is content imagery and the hardware tools that get us there, that's really what our focus is on. Data on demand, having a large library of imagery that's accessible at your fingertips, the ability to have deep reach into hardware technologies such that if you need something that's not in our library today, we've got some resources and capabilities to go get that data for you. And probably most importantly is how we work together, right? There's lots of ways where customers are purchasing data, leasing data. In some cases, we have both customers and partners who bring data into our program. So we really are focused on partnership and solutions, figuring out ways that we can best work together that positively impact all of the parties that we participate in. So if we take a quick look at where the Hexagon Content Program started and where we're at today, the program has been around since 2014. Our program is closely aligned to the flying schedule of the USDA's NAEP program. So that means that we fly entire states when we're flying. We're not focused on metro areas, but rather that wide area coverage. So since 2014, when we started, through 2017, that was the first program, the first cycle in which we were able to collect all of the data of the US. And that was pretty exciting and really a pretty big bar to achieve. In that time, we also added metros, so several cities at a higher resolution at 15 centimeter, whereas our countrywide coverage was a 30 centimeter product. In 2018, we had a banner year collecting over 500,000 square kilometers of data. It was just a ton of data. And in 2019, we realized we needed to serve that data out a little bit more efficiently, so made a move over to AWS for both hosting and storage. Last year, we had a pretty big year as well, though we didn't collect a lot of states. We collected a lot of big states, one of them being Texas, which we did statewide at 15 centimeters in partnership with TNRIS, which was really exciting. And we've already updated a couple of the cities in that program, again, bringing more fresh data into their program. 2021, it's looking to be a banner year. Again, 16 states due to be flown this year, 5 of those states flown at 15 centimeter, and that is very much due to the fact that we have our new sensor called the ContentMapper that we'll talk about here shortly. A quick overview of the data that's available inside of the Hexagon content program. Our primary products, is 4-band ortho photos, 30 centimeter across the country, 15 centimeter in all of the metro areas, as well as the state of Texas, available via WMS or WMTS or for download. It is, I think, probably one of the things you'll notice instantly about our data as compared to some of the other aerial providers out there is the overall photogrammetric quality. We spent quite a bit of time ensuring that our data has very consistent radiometry. You won't find hard seam lines. We still use ground control for accuracy benchmarking and testing all of our data. We still have humans, working on the data day to day, which I think at the end when you see the final product, you can really tell the overall difference. In addition to the imagery, we also have elevation products that are derived from the imagery. So both GSM and stereo products are available. Those are available wherever we've got an image product. So the entire US, all of Western Europe, all of that data is available. What's interesting about our program is that being a part of Hexagon, we have access to all of the airborne solutions. So the imagery sensors, the LiDAR sensors, and a lot of that feeds back into the content program because in some ways content's a bit ahead of the airborne side of the business and that we're kind of shifting the market away from, or attempting to shift the market away from spec collect or collections that are just deemed for one customer and trying to go collect data to use across the board for many customers. And a lot of that happens because of the innovation ecosystem that exists in the market. And I'm sure all of you can relate to what this looks like. Over the years, you see new technology being brought forward. They can either, fly a bit higher, collect a better resolution. And as you collect more data, of course, you need to be able to process it faster and get to an end product in which it's useful as quickly as possible. So as our sensor technology improves, our processing, of course, improves as well. With more data, you also have the opportunity to start looking at business models in a little bit more dynamic fashion. So maybe you're looking at leasing pixels or you're interested in licensing data rather than going through RFP processes to go specify exactly the data that you need. With a library the size of our library now, I think we're beyond terabytes of data. The data is available on demand. I jokingly say that you can get access to the entire United States in less than 1 minute, but it's actually quite true. You can set up an evaluation license through our website and get access to all of our library within a matter of minutes and begin interacting with it, working with it in your workflows, and probably more interestingly, working through some of the analytics or derivative products that are most interesting right now. And I think that we can thank all of you on the call today who continue to raise the bar for what imagery needs you have to solve the complex problems you're working on, whether that means more data or it means higher resolution data, additional data products. We continue to see industry pushing the end user requirements further along the line. And I think this is, again, where you get back to the top of this cycle where you see technology advancement. And while this sounds nice, I think in reality, like I can say we've actually done that. Just looking at the timeline of sensors from 2013 with the ADS 100 coming out through 2021, which is where we're talking about the ContentMapper today, in less than a decade, you see 8 new sensors come to market. We bring the hybrid sensor technology, new LiDAR technology with the single photon LiDAR in 2017. And so we really are pushing for optimization, efficiency, both in the sensor and data acquisition side of things, but also to continue to enrich the Hexagon content program. So let's talk a little bit more about this next generation sensor called the ContentMapper. It's a large format camera. It's built exclusively for the content program at the moment, and that's really because this sensor is built for efficiency, speed, and the ability to bring more data into the program than ever. As we were designing the technology here, we looked across the industry to see what needs we had, whether it was in the telecom space or insurance or responding to needs of state government. We wanted to be sure that the next generation camera could meet all of those needs. And with this sensor, it's a 150 megapixel camera. We believe we've done that. We put a big focus into using off-the-shelf products, and that was really for 2 primary reasons. One, we wanted a lot of modularity so that we were able to use the lens and imaging technology across our sensors, whether it was our city mapper sensor or our terrain mapper sensor. We wanted to be able to interchange the camera without a whole lot of additional engineering. And we also wanted there to be a high level of serviceability. So if there was any issues in the field, being able to fix those easily and quickly was something that we definitely had in mind. So with that, this camera is definitely meeting those needs, and we think that it will be able to collect the data that can be used across all of the use cases that we initially took a look at. So if we take a look at what the capabilities of this sensor are, it's really quite simple. We're able to collect twice the amount of data at the same flying profile that we're doing now with our ADS 100, which is about a 20,000 pixel across swath, whereas the ContentMapper you see is 40,000 pixels across swath. This is a huge leap in efficiency today, or without changing any flight plans or increasing any cost of acquisition, we can go from a 30 centimeter product to a 15 centimeter product. And this is really the enabling technology that's getting us to doing the statewide 15 centimeter acquisition. If we take a quick peek at some data, because of course this is always the exciting part, what does this data look like? Here's some data from about 16,000 feet above ground, 15 centimeter GSD. And if we zoom into that white box, this square that you see here, you can see that you're really picking up beautiful detail. You're grabbing all of the markings in the roadway. You can see the various fine features on all of the cars here in this image. And again, because our system is always going to deliver 4 bands, you can get a quick look at the near IR channel as well. So in addition to kind of just the overall sensor technology advancement, there is some additional work that we put into leveraging forward motion compensation inside of this camera. This isn't a new concept, and many of you may already be familiar with it. In fact, it was developed by Leica back in the 80s. And really, the main focus of this technology is to increase exposure time such that we can fly in a variety of lighting conditions, but without introducing any blur. So you can see on the left, the forward motion compensation, or FMC, is not being used, whereas on the right, that image there, you're not picking up any blur, and it's to the point where you can even see some of the cobblestones in the image. You also point out, if you just get a sense of the lighting condition, the shadow cast here is fairly long, so you can assume that the sun is fairly low on the horizon, and yet you're still being able to pick up really good quality imagery despite the lower lighting condition. Here's just another quick example of that, again, what the FMC can bring to the imagery overall and what a significant improvement that looks like. So with the Content Mapper, the flexibility it drives by being able to collect more data faster or collect higher resolution data has allowed us inside of the content program to open up some of our flexibility. Formerly, our program was tied very tightly to being a leaf-on only program, and we only could collect based on the specs that we inside of Hexagon had defined. And while this did definitely meet the needs of some of the users, we did hear over and over again that we needed opportunities to collect leaf off in order to serve the needs of our DOT customers or our NG911 customers, or in the insurance space, they wanted to be able to see through the trees. And this is what ContentMapper brings. It brings an affordable solution to leaf off imagery, to maybe increasing the amount of data that you can fly. I mentioned earlier, inside of the state of Texas, we delivered all of the 15-centimeter data, and we've already started updating some of their major cities because they want to collect data more often in those areas. And with this new technology, we can do that in a more affordable way. Certainly, image resolution increases. This is something I think everybody is keen to see what they can do here. And you know, the big thing is that we're going to be able to meet the existing data specifications that you have, and maybe even bring better data specifications to your environment, working with higher res data or collecting data more often, that type of thing. So that's really what the Content Mapper brings to the Hexagon content program, and we're excited to see you know, all of the clever ways that our customers will be able to leverage that. Now, it's important to note that the Content Mapper isn't the only technology that is coming forward inside of the program. The hybrid sensors, this is sensors that pick up both imaging and LiDAR data at the same time, is something that I think we'll see more and more of in the future. This sensor is the CityMapper 2 sensor. It can produce very high resolution imagery, so 5, 7.5 centimeter resolution ortho, quality level 1 LiDAR data, so that's at least 10 points per square meter. It also creates, it also can collect oblique imagery. You can see just by the positioning of the lenses on the tilt there that those oblique images are there as well. And of course, the workflow behind that is needed to create all of these data products. So I'll just run you through a quick sample of some of these. This is a 5 centimeter resolution ortho photo. You can see this was taken last fall. The corresponding LiDAR image that's been the points here have been colorized by the imagery. You can also produce a true ortho if that's important in your workflows. And then, of course, as you get into the LiDAR data, creating digital elevation models. And then as we start pulling all of this data together, looking at the LOD1s and LOD2s, where you start doing feature classification, and this is where you really start seeing and unlocking the power of this data to be able to fully classify and derive a lot of information out of this data set. The other unique thing we can do is when we pull all of these data sets together, you can create a really stunning mesh model. And this is what you see here of the city of Munich. This data is really remarkable because it's hard to believe that it's not just pictures, right? You've got the imagery, the obliques, the LiDAR all together, and you create a true life, almost digital twin of the city here. And I think as we push more and more of this data into the market, what you'll be able to do with it will be really, really exciting. I'm not sure we've even kind of hit all of the potential opportunities to pull information and derivatives out of a data set that looks like this. So I'm really excited to see what we can do there. So just a quick recap on where we're at with the Hexagon content program: nationwide coverage, easy data access, more than a base layer. Certainly after seeing some of those images of Munich, you can see that you could really start pulling out some really cool information from that data. And really the focus being that this data is fit for purpose for nearly all applications in which imagery data is a requirement for you today. A quick look at our plans for this year. So we've got about 1 million square miles of data planned to collect. The orange states in the top will be the 15 centimeter states, the light blue states, 30 centimeter. And I'll say that if you've got needs inside of any of these states that aren't listed in orange currently, but maybe could, you would like some higher resolution data, let's have a discussion, because we still have opportunities to increase the resolution in some of these states, which is really exciting. The bottom map here just shows kind of existing data. All of the blue data, of course, are 30 centimeter base layer, and then the orange data, all of the 15 centimeter AOIs that we have now. It's worth mentioning that none of this would be possible without our really extensive infrastructure, up to 30 aircraft and sensors in the air every flying season, 7 processing teams across the world. You can see here we've processed over 9 million square miles of data since 2014, 600 terabytes collected in 2020, and we expect that to continue to increase. So there's quite a bit of infrastructure behind the scenes that helps the Hexagon content program continue to move forward, not only on the sensor technology side of things, but just in terms of the data acquisition, processing, and then bringing that data to market. So I'll recap here before we can jump into some questions on what the Hexagon content program is. And really, we're looking to help you maintain or expand your data and imagery needs without having to go through the hassle of doing a collection where you're writing RFPs and managing vendors, doing your own quality control. We try to take some of that out of the way so that you can just get the data that you need and really focus on building those relationships and delivering to your customers. It's worth saying that our end user licensing terms can be quite flexible based on your use case. If you're interested in building derivatives and reselling those, or if you're creating analytics and working with those inside of a project, all of those types of applications are something that we can support you with, and we'd be happy to talk through that with you a little bit further. It's a nice plug here to show the existing US government customers who continues to support the Hexagon content program. We've recently onboarded the state of California. They're running an imagery program for the first time, which is very exciting to be partnering with them. And so I think we've got some very strong support on the government side. Of course, we've got quite an impressive list on the commercial side. We don't get to share those as freely, but certainly I think this is a nice endorsement of the folks who continue to be solid partners and really good advocates of the Hexagon content program. So with that, that wraps up my session, and I'd be happy to jump in and take some questions.
Excellent. Thanks, Katie. Folks would like to know how we access imagery samples or preview the imagery to make sure it's right for them.
Absolutely. It's a great question. And in fact, we've just updated our website so that there is a small library of samples at HxGNcontent.com, where you can pick up imagery samples of all resolutions. You can pick up DSM and stereo samples, and all of them are just a one-click download, so you can head over there at any time to go grab data. If you're interested in running a trial of our WMS or our WMTS service, you can also do that at our website and sign up for a free 10-day evaluation. You can either geofence to an area that you're interested in. So say you're just looking for data in the state of Maryland, you can go pick that up there. Or if you're interested in looking at the entire US, you can also eval on the entire country. So both easy ways, both self-serve, and you can do it at any time.
Perfect. As is always popular with these types of sessions, folks are looking for, when is my data coverage coming? So someone specifically would like to know a timeline for getting coverage in other parts of North America, such as Canada.
It's a good question. And actually, the roots of most of our programs started in Calgary, up in Alberta, as I'm guessing maybe this person asking the question knows. So we do have quite extensive coverage in Western Canada, but it has not been updated super recently. We're working to improve that by partnering up with some of the data acquisition firms up in that part of Canada. So we'll be bringing in some new data in Alberta later this year. We also have a large commercial customer that we're working with right now who is defining quite a bit of Canadian coverage that they're looking for. So I'll say that in 2021, we should be bringing more data into Canada that we have brought in the last several years, which is really exciting.
And then on another part of the globe, the same question about Africa.
Excellent question. So our focus to date has really been on North America and on Western Europe. And because we're looking for data resale, that is not just selling the data once, but being able to sell it multiple times, we've prioritized other parts of the world to say, where can we maybe find some value in data outside of Europe or the US? And actually, South Africa is one of the areas that we've started doing some acquisition in. I'm not sure that we'll ever get to a program level the way we have in the United States that we have in Africa. But certainly there are some particular spots where it makes sense to pull in data. Again, South Africa is a good one, or maybe some other parts. In Asia, the same thing with Japan, or areas where we actually can get data out of the country and not held to some of the local government restrictions in which they own the data.
So we've got some folks that are curious about state governments managing their distribution of imagery through a streaming license, especially around controlling levels of public domain. Could you maybe speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the interesting and good problems that a lot of our state governments have is that their stakeholders include agencies, county governments, municipalities, and all the way down to, you know, regular old tax-paying folks like you and I. So for our program, we offer some pretty flexible licensing terms. All of our streaming service is under a username and password for the full streaming capabilities. And that can be managed in several different ways with all of the state governments that we're working with now. Some of them manage it on their own. Some of them work with partners who have GUIs that work on top of our data to manage their users. But when it comes to public delivery, we're pretty flexible in allowing our state governments to show the data in public-facing websites. So if you've got needs in which folks need to be able to view or look at data, we can serve that out. And then if you even have download requirements where you've got requirements that anybody can have access to the physical data, we'll allow you to do that. We just ask that we increase the resolution, so 2 times the resolution for public download. But that doesn't change the pricing of anything. Those are just our standard use terms, which so far have fit the bill for all of the state governments that we're working with.
Perfect. So a question for you on the data you fly for the USDA, because it's a federal program, is that imagery freely available to US users?
Yeah, absolutely. So the USDA data, the NAEP data, is available through NAEP, and that's a 60-centimeter product. So that data, while we are very involved in acquisition and processing that, it's all on the USDA and NAEP for distribution and dissemination of that data. So you can go pick that up through the USDA. We happen to collect the data at a higher resolution for our program, and then we deliver the 60-centimeter data over to the USDA. So the products are not identical. One of them is the higher resolution product, and then the content product is the lower resolution product. Let's see, no, the higher resolution product, I have to get that correctly, the 30 or 15-centimeter product, and there may be a few more, fine tunes that we do to that final data.
Perfect. And I think we've got time for one last question. Folks would like to know the timeline for the rest of the USA.
Yeah, absolutely. So in general, we collect about 1/3 of the US every year. That's been our cadence. Because we fly with NAEP, typically it's a leaf-on summer collect. So right now is kind of prime time collection for us. We probably have got 25 or 30 aircraft in the air. I know they were just flying over my hometown here in Annapolis, Maryland, I think 2 weeks ago. And typically, once that data is collected, you'll start to see the data get published online sometime in early Q4.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Katie. We are out of time, but I do appreciate you sharing everything with us today. These innovations look fantastic, and I know that it could be helpful for so many people.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here and the opportunity to talk to everyone.
Yeah. So folks, remember that today's webinar recording is archived. We'll send you an email with the link to the webinar on demand, as well as many resources that were mentioned today. Also an attendance certificate for those of you collecting those as well. We appreciate your input on the brief survey that pops up on the way out. Thanks again to Katie for sharing her expertise and to Christy for her support as well. We hope that you will have a great day and tell a friend about Hexagon and Directions Magazine. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.